Well, I tell you, this place is gorgeous right now. Mind you, I always think this place is gorgeous, so I'm just a little biased.
Outright adventure.
What's an oaf?
So I've been noticing that the Loafs for OAFs attendance for our fundraiser, it just isn't quite what it used to be. Any suggestions as to why that might be or what we could do?
No. Oh crap, he's looking at me. Yeah, I got an idea, but I don't really think anyone wants to hear it. And cool guy Oaf, man, he is so cool. As soon as he says anything, everyone's gonna stop talking. Then again, if Nataloaf starts speaking, we'll never hear anything. Oh man, I gotta say something quick.
We could just throwing this out there, but we could just post it on Facebook, you know?
Well, I guess that's the more practical idea, and when I think about it, I mean, my idea is pretty crazy, so like, yeah, this makes sense. I don't know why I was thinking that in the first place. Let's just go with this.
Okay, sounds good to me.
According to Mel Robbins, we all have unique thoughts and ideas every single day, even every single minute. What we don't realize is that within 5 seconds, we'll talk ourselves out of those ideas. What I'm curious about is how this is related to creativity. Why don't we speak up more often? What holds us back from expressing ourselves creatively? Do we all have this capacity to be creative? Or is it only some of us? My hope is to take what I've learned as a teacher, an artist, a writer, and now a budding filmmaker, and explain it in a way that makes sense. And maybe, just maybe, I'll convince some of you that creativity isn't that far away. Got the backpack, some Dorian Gray, poems for boys and girls, John Steinbeck in there, just for good measure, and of course, something to write on. Time to go. I'm heading out to a local park, hoping to have a successful creative session writing in nature. I think a key part of being able to write has to do with finding a place to do it. To get those conditions so that you can write, I think you kind of have to find where that place is. For me, obviously, it's a place like this, you know, outside. I got, no, now there's people. Let's start with poems for boys and girls. Well, it's the first one I opened to. Matilda by Hilaire Belloc. Never heard of her or him. Matilda told such dreadful lies it made one gasp and stretch one's eyes. Her aunt, who from her earliest youth had kept a strict regard for truth. And there's a reason to stop right there. Yeah, one of the downsides of trying to film in a park is there's people around. So far my attempt to get away from people isn't working so well. There's another frisbee. I don't know if it's just that, like, writing for me is such a private thing. I just can't seem to get into it when I've got people in every direction. Ready? Go get it. So a couple of things. It probably seems a little weird to include this entire failed attempt at creativity, and at first I wasn't going to put it in because, well, failed. Or rather, I failed at pushing through my discomfort. As teachers, we're pretty good at preaching to students that we just need to do it and push through it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and what?
Write.
What are you doing?
I'm writing. Like you'll be when you start punching those keys. Is there a problem?
No, I'm just thinking.
No. No thinking. That comes later.
In this clip from Gus Van Sant's 2000 film, Finding Forrester, the character of Forrester, played by Sean Connery, makes a pretty good case for something I have taught students my entire teaching career.
The first key to writing is to write, not to think.
Not thinking is essential to creativity, and we'll come back to this important rule later. Back to my problem in the park. Even when I was in a great location with beautiful trees and great light, I couldn't stop thinking about the people and their interrupting frisbees. I tried to write several times, but it didn't go anywhere. It wasn't until I went to a much more remote location that I could unleash my creativity. So we're going to try this again. Me writing out here by the river, away from any people that I can see and any distractions. See how it goes. The first rule to becoming creative is to find the barriers or the walls that hold you back. I found them unintentionally, and in doing so, figured out a way around them. One of the other real challenges I find with a lot of students for writing, for myself even, I would say, is allowing yourself to write about challenging topics. And I would say this comes up quite a bit in writing. It's easy to say, hey, take risks, try new things, try things you've never done before. But the truth of it is, we're very afraid of going outside of what we know. We're kind of conditioned to write about everything that, or not write, but to talk about, to think about just the things that we surround ourselves with. And so when a topic that's very unconventional or taboo or even just outside of what we're used to pops into our head, we have defenses built in to get rid of it, so that we don't address that. And that's actually where the majority of really good writing comes from. According to Edward de Bono, one of the fathers of the modern concept of creativity, in order for creative thinking to occur, there needs to be a provocation operation, or PO for short. PO is what drives and invokes creativity. It is often in the form of a crisis, manufactured or real. It is the origin of where we started saying the phrase, think outside the box. And PO isn't just a weird idea that no one has ever thought of. It's usually nonsensical at first, and often deemed too radical to actually work. But when supported and given room to grow, a good PO can be the spark that ignites a constant flame of creativity. I mean, some of the hands down best writing I've read of students was about some kind of sensitive topics. I had one student I remember that really struggled with writing anything, but when this student had something come up in the student's life that was kind of traumatic, they didn't want to be at school. And when I eventually was able to catch up with the student, and it was a day we were writing, I just said to the student, come on, you can write about that. And the student kind of fussed and complained a little bit, and eventually decided to write. And it was some of the best writing that this student could produce. Up until that point, really minimal, but the writing about this very emotional thing was excellent. It was incredible to read. And I think that's the power of what I mean when I say take risks in your writing, is you have to be willing to let your mind go where it goes. And that's why you can't think when you're trying to write and trying to get those ideas out, because thinking is what holds it all back. It's what keeps it in. And then, of course, the other irony is most of my students, when they start to figure out how to do this, they often make less mistakes when they sit down and write this way than when they do when I give them an assignment and give them a topic. I find that fascinating. If you think about that for a moment, that's the real irony there. You're a better writer when you're not thinking about being a better writer. Although the advice "don't think" is good advice to help someone to find their creativity, the character of Jamal, played by Rob Brown in the film, struggles with being able to turn off his thoughts.
Is there a chance you might sit down?
In an effort to give him a nudge, Forrester offers a solution, a trick to distract Jamal's thinking.
A season of face perfection. What's this?
Start typing that. Sometimes a simple rhythm of typing gets us from page 1 to page 2. And when you begin to feel your own words, start typing them.
This trick that Forrester uses to get Jamal to start typing his own words is very similar to a trick that Mel Robbins talks about in her book, The 5-Second Rule.
Punch the keys, for God's sake! Yes! Yes! You're the man now, dog.
Because it can take only 5 seconds to start trying to convince ourselves that our creative ideas won't work, her book suggests that by simply counting backwards, starting at 5 down to 1, and then on 1 we act or move, open our mouth, or do the thing we know or want to try, we can actually hijack our natural defenses from trying to tell us that it won't work, and actually do almost anything, at least anything we feel that we could be doing. And so, at the risk of making an already long video even longer, let me sum everything up. Number 1, define your boundaries. Some of those boundaries are physical, like gravity, time, and resources. Some of the boundaries are in our head, like frisbee throwers, or moral boundaries set by our beliefs and values. Number 2, push, poke, and provoke until ideas start appearing. Don't try to have original ideas. They'll come to you when you let them. Just don't think about it. Do the thing you know you could do, but are in the habit of not doing. Number 3, be open to anything. Ideas that are outside the box, ridiculous, taboo, or on the fringe are often some of the best ideas and can yield the highest rewards in terms of creative expression, but usually need to be given respect and space to grow and be understood. Number 4, remain optimistically objective. The idea will work, but it just needs to be refined, prototyped, and go through a few iterations first. And finally, 5, act. Great ideas stay as ideas unless something happens. Make it happen. Clear a path. As obstacles appear, be careful of the damage that inaction will cause. Things will always get in the way. Just keep going. Keep writing. Keep revising. Keep doing.